Have you ever walked out of a user interview feeling even more confused than when you went in? Well, you are not alone. Today, we're going to talk about that huge gap between the clean, structured process you learn in UX courses and the wonderfully chaotic reality of talking to actual human beings.
First, we'll break down why our expectations clash so hard with what really happens. Then, we're going to get practical and talk about how to navigate the chaos of an interview. We'll even make the case for why all that messiness is actually a good sign, before finally showing you how to find a clear signal in all that noise.
All right, so let's just jump right in. The core issue for so many of us, especially when we're starting out, is this really jarring disconnect between what the textbooks say is going to happen and what actually does. We go in expecting users to give us these neat, logical answers to clearly explain their problems. But the reality? Oh man, people ramble. They say one thing, and then 5 minutes later, they'll say the exact opposite. They forget why they did something. But here's the secret. This isn't a sign that your research is failing. It's a sign that you're finally doing real research. And this brings us to a really major mindset shift. It is not the user's job to be a perfect data delivery machine. They aren't designers. They don't think in neat systems. Their only job is to share their experiences, the good, the bad, and the confusing. Your job is to be the detective, to find the meaning that's hidden inside their messy story. Okay, so theory is one thing, but what do you actually do when the interview starts to go off the rails? Let's break down some of the most common, and let's be honest, kind of awkward situations that can totally throw you off your game if you're not ready for them. The classic. You ask a user about a process you suspect is full of problems, and they just shrug and tell you it's perfectly fine. Feels like a dead end, right? Wrong. See, a beginner might take them at their word and just note, no problem here. But a pro knows that users get used to friction. They have workarounds they don't even see as problems anymore. The key is to ask for a specific story. Can you just walk me through the last time you did that? The real problems live in the details of that story, not in a general summary. Here's another one that can make your head spin. The user gives you two completely contradictory pieces of feedback, sometimes in the very same sentence. What are you supposed to do with that? This is just human nature. We often react emotionally in the moment, and then we try to rationalize it logically later. That inconsistency isn't a flaw in the data, it is the data. The real insight isn't in their logical explanation, it's in their emotional reaction. That feeling of annoyance, that's the gold you're taking for. Now, this one is subtle, but it is so important. A user struggles with your interface, and what do? They immediately blame themselves. They feel insecure or foolish. It's really easy to just ignore this, to maybe think, okay, this user just isn't my target audience. But that is a huge mistake. This comment is a blinking red light that's signaling a design flaw. Great design should make people feel smart and confident. When users blame themselves, it means our design has made them feel the opposite. And the fourth situation, the user who suddenly becomes a designer. They stop describing their experience and start telling you exactly what solutions you need to build. It's so tempting to just write this down as a feature request. But that's not your job. Users are experts on their problems, but they're amateurs at designing solutions. So you have to dig deeper. When they offer a solution, you hit them with the magic question. And what problem would that solve for you? That brings you right back to the root issue, which is where the real value is hiding. So, we've waded through all this chaos and contradiction. It can feel incredibly uncomfortable, right? Like you're failing to get clear data. But now we're going to make a critical shift and see why that messy feeling is actually a very, very good sign. Let's just ask this directly. Why does sitting in an interview that's going off the rails, where you're not getting the answers you expected, why does that create this feeling of near panic in us? What is that discomfort really telling us? Here's why. Discomfort is the feeling of learning. It's what happens when you're no longer in control, when the path forward isn't clear, when you're facing true uncertainty. That comfortable feeling you get when an interview's going well, that often just means you're hearing exactly what you already believed. You're stuck in confirmation bias. Real learning happens just outside your comfort zone. This is the key difference between a novice and a pro. A beginner panics mid-interview because they can't see a clear pattern emerging from the messy conversation. But an experienced designer expects this. They know the interview is for gathering raw material. They trust that the patterns will only reveal themselves later, during the synthesis phase.
All right, so we've embraced the mess, we've gathered our contradictory, chaotic data. Now for the million-dollar question. How do we turn all of that noise into a clear signal? Look at these examples. In research for a food delivery app, you'll hear some people demand more choice while others are overwhelmed and want less. For a fintech app, some want total granular control while others just want the reassurance that everything's okay. The research didn't fail. It revealed a fundamental tension. The goal of great research isn't to get a simple single answer. It's to uncover the inherent tensions and competing needs that exist within your user base. True innovation happens when you find a brilliant way to resolve that tension in your design. So I want you to remember this. Let this be your key takeaway. If you walk away from your interviews feeling like it was messy, unpredictable, and a little chaotic, congratulations, you are probably doing it right. And remember, the magic doesn't happen in the interview room. That's just data collection. The magic happens during synthesis. That's the dedicated process where you step back, look at all the messy data points together, and clarity finally begins to emerge from the chaos. So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. Go back to that one user interview that left you feeling the most confused or frustrated. Instead of dismissing that as a failure, ask yourself, what uncomfortable truth, what powerful tension was hiding in that mess all along?